Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for following this channel, for watching, for subscribing. I hope you learned something from this video. And today, I want to show you a very instructive game, which I played in a tournament 2 months ago. The time control was game 90 with a 30-second increment. My opponent was rated a little bit over 1500, and he started with f4. This is the board opening, as you can see. I played d5, which is the most logical move. White played knight f3, which makes sense. And now, one of the things which white wants to play in this position is to get the bishop on this diagonal. Because it can't really come this way, which is why I play pawn g6. The logic is I want to take this diagonal before he does. Okay. He played pawn e3. Makes sense to get out this bishop. I continue with my plan. He got ready to castle. I built the center. He castled. And I got ready to castle. Nothing special. And now he played c4. And now we have a decision to make. Do we take? Do we push? Or do we do something else? Taking that did not seem very exciting because he'll just stay back. I thought I could push, but then he takes, I take, he plays d3, and my bishop is kind of blocked. And he can maybe expand on the queen side at some point because he has more pawns there. Which is why I decided to keep the tension and castle. And now he plays d4, which is a small inaccuracy. And the reason is, once the middle opens up, my pieces will be much better than his. Especially this bishop compared to this one. So I took. He took back in the best way. He does not want to take with the queen because we'll just gain time on the queen. He does not want to take with the pawn because I still play this move, and there is pressure on this pawn, and this pawn cannot be defended by other pawns. If he ever takes here, then black is incredibly happy because this is a really good knight. Control the squares, part in front of the isolated pawn. He cannot get kicked by these guys. And again, there is pressure on this pawn, and even more pressure. This is why he took back with a knight. At first, I wanted to play knight c6, to challenge this knight, but I didn't like the fact that he could take, and then he could take, and then I have isolated pawns. This is still good for me because I have a great bishop, and he does not, and I have an option of playing here. So this is still quite good for black. But I did not like that. If I don't like that, well, what's my plan? Well, I thought that at some point he might end up getting his bishop on this diagonal. So I decided to take him first. And my plan was that his bishop goes here, and then he's less good compared to this square. Which is why computer recommends that white should not take with the bishop. Computer recommends that white should bring the knight and take with the knight, and the bishop in the meantime will get this beautiful square. But he took with the bishop. I gained time on this bishop. He improved his queen and defended. Another point of this move is I can now play rook here. That would be a good rook on the same line as the queen. And now I can play knight c6 and take back with the queen instead of breaking up my pawns. He plays queen b3, which makes sense, supports the bishop, points here, which means my rook cannot move. I played knight c6, as expected. He took. By the way, my threat is knight a5, which would be not very fun. So he took. I took back with the queen. Again, pawn takes is an option with the idea of putting my rook here, but my pawns are not the greatest pawns in the world. At any rate, I took with the queen. He developed his knight. I developed my bishop, and he played knight here. And with the obvious threat of this, but also there is some morals way he might take and then play here with pressure on this pawn. Okay, I moved my queen and defended, and now he made a mistake. He played the most logical looking move. He played bishop b2, bishop d2, connecting his rooks and preparing bishop b4. But this move allows black a nice tactic, and I will pause and have you find it. And the move, which I hopefully you were able to find, takes advantage of loose pieces. This bishop is loose, it's not protected. This knight is also loose. It's double protected, but it's also double attacked. So we can't do this right away because he'll take this with check. So we take the knight first, after he takes back, then we do this. And it's important that we use this rook because if we use the other rook, of course, white has this move. So rook here, it's still not over because he has this trick. Of course, I took, he took, and he will get one of the rooks, and we will end up having black with two bishops against a rook and a pawn. But black will be much, much better. You will see the amazing power of the two bishops. So first I trade queens to ruin his pawns. Now I could go here, but it's not necessary to do this yet, because he can take this. So, and again, I don't need to save my rooks yet because he can only take one at a time. So I saved this pawn. He took this rook. I took with a king because this rook likes this line, and this bishop is great on this diagonal. So I took with a king. Now this pawn is attacked. He can defend like this because of this bishop. This is not very fun, so he defends with rook. And now black has a very simple move, which will mean material. I will pause and have you find it. And the move is rook here, which again attacks loose things. Well, he can save both of them. He decided to give both up to create counterplay. He plays h3 to give his king some running room. I took here. He improves his rook. I took here. He improves the other rook. Now he's threatening checkmate. There are a number of ways to stop it. I can do this, which blocks the rook. I can do this, which controls the square. But I just do. Because now my king has running room. He played g4 attacking my bishop. My bishop moves. Notice this does not work because if he does this, black has a tactic. Again, loose pieces. We can play bishop here. It's a discovery. So instead, he checked. Now I could go here or here. I thought about going here with tempo, but I thought after he moves the rook, I'm pinned, and he has this threat. Because after takes, my bishop will die. And so I thought after he moves the rook, I would have to move back, which is why I moved my king right away. Now his pawn was attacked, so he defended. I dropped my bishop back, not so much because I want to attack the rook, but because I want to make my rook more flexible here. And after he saved the rook, now my plan is to take advantage of my past pawns and send them up, especially this guy, which is helped by the two bishops. First I played h6, which stops him from kicking my bishop around. He played rook here. I push my pawn. He played rook here. I push my pawn. He played here. Now we don't rush. We notice that the rook is playing this pawn, so he's threatening this, which means we need to save the bishop. I did it in the most forcing way. Check. He moves the king. Notice the power of the bishop on the open board. He covers this pawn so that this will never ever be a thing. He also defends this pawn, which means this rook can now move. He also creates some checkmate threats, as you will see in a second, and he also helps this pawn move up. And in this position, I play bishop here, and he actually resigned. And the reason is I have a deadly threat. Bishop here, after the king moves, we don't take the pawn, which we could, but instead we checkmate. And it's possible because this bishop covers this, and this bishop from here will cover this. So all these three squares will all be covered. He would stop the checkmate by doing something like this, but of course, he loses another pawn. And if we show this position to the computer, computer says black is more than +10. A nice game, some interesting ideas, some interesting tactics. You see the power of the two bishops. I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something from it, especially about the power of the two bishops. Please continue to follow this channel. Please like, please subscribe, and I will be back soon. Thank you.